Hi. Um, so my story was about GPT-3 and the future of AI in journalism and media, looking at the role of large language models as well as the ethics of them. I guess I was really interested in this topic because I had heard that the Miami Herald had been putting out stories that were written by AI. And I heard this before I even started taking this class, and I had that sort of panic that normal people get when they hear about AI. Especially as a journalism major, I was like, is my career over? Like, is there going to be any role or any place for journalists when AI can just write these stories for us? So this research really started taking me down the path of large language models more generally. Specifically GPT-3, which is a very advanced large language model by OpenAI. I thought it was really interesting to investigate the mechanisms behind these large language models, how they work, how their word vectors work, and how they are way more sophisticated than previous large language models, which look at positionality and relationships instead of considering those things, as well as the connotations of words and their relationships to the entire context and meaning of the text. So I thought that was really interesting. It also led me to consider questions that were posed to me by Professor McAdams about whether large language models have the capability to do all these tasks that we say they do, or if that's a bit of an exaggeration. What I found was that, these large language models like GPT-3 specifically are extremely sophisticated, trained on incredibly large data sets, but they can't by themselves do all these specific tasks that we want them to do. We see this a lot in AI. We're far from artificial general intelligence because AI is always so narrowly trained, and the same is true for large language models. Instead, what happens is we have fine-tuned models. So they look at the mechanisms behind GPT-3 or other sophisticated large language models, and they sort of adjust the, training data or, the mechanisms by which it works to tailor it to a more specific task, like translations or things like that. So GPT-3 is sort of like a big catch-all thing, and then you can tune it to do all of these various tasks. Particularly, I looked at how they produce content, how they produce text, language generation. And so I looked into this question about AI in journalism, and what I found is that it's not really a huge thing. In 2020, The Guardian published an article entirely written by a GPT-3 chatbot, and it was really good. But, it was asked for only 500 words. It was asked for concise, simple language. It was asked for objective things. It wasn't writing sophisticated articles. I found out also other ways that these large language models are used in journalism through, monitoring weather and generating content based on that. A really popular one is sports games. They can analyze the metrics and the data on those, and they're able to, write, fill in templates essentially. It's not very sophisticated journalism. But GPT-3 and large language models and chatbots are used for writing and helping people with that. I read one paper where someone said that they put some keywords into ChatGPT and had it generate a title for them. So I did that for my paper. I typed in keywords like ethics and journalism and large language models, and the chatbot was able to generate a title for me that I used. And I wanted to share with you that the title was generated that way. And what it came up with was GPT-3 and the future of AI, ethics, journalism, and the role of large language models. I had to generate a few titles before I found a good one that I thought encapsulated my story, but I think that is so fascinating. Overall, I had a great time working on this, and my main takeaway is that we shouldn't really be afraid. There are things that prevent us from using these large language models in journalism, like bias and plagiarism and all these types of things. Overall, I had a wonderful time researching this topic, and I hope you enjoy my paper.